As we're looking at suicide, let's start with the basics. What is suicide, and how does someone get to the point of suicide? Professor Kuruvilla George from the Centre of Theology and Psychology explains for us. What is suicide, and why do people get to that point?
Sure. Thank you very much, James. So when we talk about suicide, let's talk from the definition of what suicide is.
Yeah.
And suicide, the term has come from a modern Latin word, which is suicidum. And it is, sui means of oneself, and sidum means killing. So killing of oneself. Now, so when we talk about suicide, there are three aspects of it. Basically, it's deliberate killing of oneself. So there are three aspects. One is, first, a self-inflicted injury.
Yep.
Secondly, there was an intent to die. And thirdly, it results in death.
Yep.
So these three aspects have to be fulfilled before we say it's suicide.
Yeah. Yep.
Why? Because there are fairly sort of similar actions or things that might happen which might not be suicide. For example, self-harm.
Okay, yeah.
And we used to, in the past, when I was studying, we used to call that para-suicide.
Okay.
We don't use that very much these days.
Yeah.
Self-harm. So in self-harm, there might be the intention to die, or there might not be the intention to die.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. But it didn't end up in death. So that's why it's called self-harm or para-suicide.
Yeah.
Why do people do that? Could be for various reasons. It could be because they're distressed. They find that either cutting themselves or doing things like that releases that tension.
Yeah.
Others may be that's the only way they can get help. They feel by doing something like that they come to the attention of people. So for various reasons. Then there are terms that are used like martyrdom. Is it suicide or not? I mean, it's a lot of discussion about whether it's suicide or not. Yeah. Some might say yes, it was, but others might say, well, you're, for example, killing someone and then you get killed. Is that suicide? Or then there is, you would have heard of harikiri. Where during the war, Japanese soldiers used to go and purposely kill themselves.
Yeah.
Is that suicide for the nation's sake? And so there are various terms like that which are used. But this is what suicide is. Now, you ask why? Why do people commit suicide? For various reasons. The main reason for suicide is mental illness. Is the main cause of very many suicides that happen.
Yeah.
It could be severe depression, which ends up with suicidal thoughts and then ending up in suicide. It could be schizophrenia. It could be bipolar affective disorder. These all have a higher incidence of suicide that we know of. So mental illness is a major cause of suicide. Secondly, very many people don't realize this. It's not mental illness, but physical illness.
Yeah, okay.
And physical illness could be a great contributor to suicide, because you mentioned about the younger men, incidence being higher, and the elderly men.
Yeah.
And if you look at elderly men, very often it's because of physical illness and a disability. They come to the point, the pain, chronic pain, or a disability. They feel, what's the point of going? So physical illness can be a major cause. Thirdly, relationship problems. Breakdown in relationships, marriages, other relationships that break down, and then people feel, what's the point of going on? Fourthly, financial problems can be a great contributor or cause of suicide in some cases. Bankruptcy, losing one's house, losing things. Social isolation for various reasons. People become socially isolated. Elderly is another reason for that. Suicide.
True.
because they've lost their loved one. They're on their own. In our nuclear families, very often they are neglected. And social isolation. Alcohol and drug problems could be a contributor, and also sometimes the main reason for ending one's life. Then childhood sexual abuse. Many, because of the sexual abuse, it becomes post-traumatic stress disorder for them. It's happened in the past, and it goes on playing on their mind to the point where there's no point in going on. Losses and failures in life, including loss of a loved one, loss of reputation and status because of something that has happened. They feel that there's no point now. People think like that of them. There's no point in living. So these are some of the main factors which result in people committing suicide.
And there's kind of a bit of a common theme through a lot of those, where it's people who are kind of facing something, be that pain or a situation, and they can't see any way out. They think this is their way out. If you're searching for more resources on suicide and suicide awareness, you can head to anxiousfaith.org/suicide or check the link in the description. And if these videos have brought up anything that is difficult for you or someone you know's mental health, please, we strongly encourage you to reach out for help. Here at Anxious Faith, we're all about tackling the big questions of faith and mental health. We'd love for you to join our community on socials and continue these conversations.